Okay, so on the first little video, I showed you how to do it where you stamp and die cut and then lift the wings, or you could do the same with the petals of the flower up out of your card. On this one, I just want to show you how to snip that away and use it as a regular die. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of stamping for the background. I'm going to show you a few inking techniques, but then also I'm going to show you how you use your plain coloured card in the kit to create these types of three-dimensional flowers, where you've got 2 dimensions in the actual petals of the flowers, but you don't need to leave them connected in. Okay, so I'll start off with the die cutting, and what I thought I'd do is, if you look on this card, I've done a matten layer of the purple around the background, but that's going to be covered by my next layer, which I've done with the stamping. So we can actually use the inside of the purple for our die cut pieces. So all you do when we're doing that, cut your piece to size. So if you look, I've taken a base 6x6 card and I've cut this a tiny little bit smaller, so that it's just going to leave a nice little layer around the outside. So I now know the next layer that's going to go on is going to be the white layer. Essentially everything behind that white layer I can now use to cut out with, right? So I'm just going to take the die. So you've got your, we've got 3 different sizes. You've got your big one, we've got the medium, and we've got the little small one here. And I'm going to position them just in the inside of the card. So what it's doing is it's called gutting the card. So you're using the guts that you don't need whilst leaving plenty around the outside. So again, these aren't complicated dies, so we don't need to do we don't need to add the metal shimming or anything. You're just going to add on your plastic shim, your clear magnetic, and then our top plate, and we're going to send them through the Gemini. All of these dies, not only for your Gemini, you could be using these in your little diamond press machine, in any of your manual die cutting machines, all the electronic ones that are out there. They do work. All of our dies work with all different machines, okay? And when I turn this over, you can see there, what it's done at the moment is it's cut those out. So I'll take my dies off there. So it's cut them out, so you could leave them connected into the card, can you see? And then all of these pieces would pop up around 2 layers. That's the way these are designed. But if you want to use them cut out, like I've done on the card, all you're going to do is take your little precision snippers and you're just going to literally trim away, can you see, behind each one of those. So if you can see what I'm doing, I'm lifting up both of those pieces of die cuts, getting my scissors in, and just snipping down in between that piece. Hopefully you can see there exactly what I'm doing. And that will completely snip away, make sure I get this last one right, completely snip away the flower and leave it ready for you to use as a 2-part layering flower. So let's have a look, here we go. There we go. So we've got this lovely 2-part layering flower ready for us to layer up and still use on the card, all right? So I'm going to do the same with the other 2 little ones as well. So this is still going to be the guts of my card. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work on these pieces first. Now, what you'll find is with the plain colours, they do look quite plain. So it's nice to do a little bit of inking to them to make them come to life a little bit. So I'm going to use just a corresponding colour. So I've got some of our Harmony ink pads, the crushed velvet. And watch how I like to do it. So I like to work onto like a glass mat surface and put a little bit of ink down. Pick up a little bit of it onto the side of my tool. I find it's easier picking it up from the glass mat like this than what it is dipping it into the ink pad, right? And then if you take this close to where you've got your ink, what you can do is you can just gently rub around the outsides. Can you see? So I'm just ever so gently rubbing around. I've got to be really careful because obviously these are really delicate, these. So just picking up little bits of this. And you can see just what a difference. If I stop there before I've done the last petal, you can see just what a difference it's made having a little bit of ink around the outsides there. So if I put them 2 next to each other, maybe it's on the piece of white, you'll be able to really see the difference. This one looks a lot more dimensional than the flat one that we've got, okay? So I'm just going to do the same, plenty of ink around all of these edges just to make them come to life. And then when you've got plenty of ink, just going to take a little baby wipe, clean up your surface. And I find it's really good to kind of keep clean as we're going, otherwise you'll end up with bits of ink on the backs of your white cards when you don't want that, right? Now, let's work on these flowers a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just lift up these petals to make them a little bit more 3D, and then I'm going to show you how we can put a bit of a fake centre in the middle of them. I love doing this. So there's our 3D flower, and then the same with the next piece, just lifting up those petals, leaving the outer piece of the petals. This is where it's very, very fine and delicate, leaving them in there like that. Now, what I've got is, I've got my 3D glue gel. I'm going to just open up my card, because we're going to be working with a bit of glitter here, so I want to be able to decant it back into the pot. Open up the card, I'm going to put a little blob of glue into the centre. And when I say a little, I actually mean quite a good blob. So can you see, I'm just going to go into the centre of this and do like a little blob to form the centrepiece of my flower of 3D glue gel like that. Oh, and you only want to make sure you get it just in the centre. So there's my little blobs of glue. You can do the same with a hot glue gun if you want. And then if I put the crystal glitter over the top, see, the crystal glitter will stick to the top of that glue and give us like a nice fake centrepiece. Let's see if I've got the tweezers just to pick them up now. So can you see I've got like a nice little centrepiece of the flower with that glue on there. So, oh, and we need to pop them to one side to dry. So nice little blobs of glue on there. And even that little one's cute in the centre. So they can just be drying there. And of course all of this glitter will decant easily back into the pot. That little pot of glitter will last you for ages. Okay? Now what I've done is, just to make life easy so that we're not waiting ages for them to dry, I'll save those ones for another project. I've got the ones that I prepared when I was getting this demonstration ready. And they've had time to dry, so you can see I've got those nice centerpieces, so I can just make those flowers a little bit three-dimensional again, and I've got those nice little glittery centerpieces for the middles of my flowers, so they're going to be ready to go on. So there's one, and then my little smaller one. And then if you look, just because I like flowers to have a little bit of a grounding, give them a little bit of space on the card, I've just hand cut a couple of little leaves. And again, I've just rounded off with the circle into a little bit of green card. So I'm just going to shape them as well. So we've got some little leaves that we can be using on the card too. And again, this was just from the green card in the kit. And then I've just added a little bit of browning around the edges. Honestly, the little bit of inking on your cards will really just make it come to life. And then even just this folding just makes them feel a little bit more realistic. So they're going to be ready to go on the card. But before I do that, I'm going to do the base of my card, ready to take it all. So again, push them to one side. We've got the base card, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of stamping. So I'll get the stamps out, and I'm going to take the little small butterfly, just to do a butterfly background. And I have got my rocker block here. I'm obviously using a larger rocker block than what you'd need. And all I'm going to do is with that purple, and you can use either the Harmony or the quick drying inks would be even better for this. And I'm just going to stamp some butterflies around the outside. Just making sure I'm always twisting and going, taking them a little bit random. You see? So taking some of them off the edge and just building this around. Every time, if you notice, I'm turning the stamp pad over and taking the ink to it. It's just a much better way, I find, of making sure you get an even stamped image. So once you're happy with how many butterflies you've got, and bear in mind that card that is going to go over here, and then we're going to take that over so I can look at that and think, yes, I'm very happy with the amount of butterflies, but again, this looks quite flat, so I'm just going to ink it up around the edge, just a little bit of colour, just to get a little bit more depth and dimension in here. And you see, once you've got around the edge, you can just take them swirls a little bit bigger if you want to have an all over more purpley background, which I definitely do in this case. Okay. And again in there with a baby wipe, just to keep that work surface nice and clean while we're working on it. Now it doesn't matter that I've got a few smudges over the middle, because bear in mind the next stage we're going to do, I'm going to layer this up, and I'm going to use some foam pads so that that is nice and even over the base. Just going to get this all ready. And also you've got those lovely gems in the pack, the little pearls. So I'm just going to add those little pearls onto here as well. It just makes a lovely finishing touch. So that I'm going to lift up onto the card with foam pads so that it is an even lift all the way around. One in the middle for good luck. Okay, so let's get this card put together. So this is going to layer up straight over that purple base. This is where you don't see all of that gutting in the card. You'd never know that we'd taken out what we need from here, all right? And then that is going to layer up and go on the front of our 6x6 card base. And I think I'll do either do a side fold or a tent fold. Let's have a look, we'll do a tent fold. So we'll put the fold at the top. Then we've got our butterfly showing here. You see, and then this is just going to come slightly off kilter like this, ready for us to put our flowers on. Now, I've used the foam pads to lift this up because I wanted a nice even lift. But then for my actual flowers, I'm going to use the 3D glue gel, because what I want to do is be able to put a nice blob down and then position my leaves underneath. So can you see, put a nice big blob down there, put our flower down, but then I want to be able to come in with a few of these leaves, again pop a little bit on there, and then just pop them underneath. You see, to make it look very real. So I'm just popping a little bit of glue on the back, take them underneath like that. And the beauty of this is you can adjust as you're going. So if it's not quite exactly where you want it to be, oh, it's my wet one. We can pop them down and manoeuvre them into place where we need to. It's probably good to use your little tweezers as well at times. There we go. And then when we've got these little tiny leaves, you see, they'll all just pop underneath. Now, just to completely finish it off, I've also just stamped a couple of bits. So I've stamped the little love letters, and I'm going to pop that. Let's get this little leaf moved here. This is another great reason to use the 3D glue. I'm just going to again pop a little bit of glue gel on the back of there and pop this under the side here. That just finishes that off lovely. Lovely, no pun intended there. And then lastly, I've got here just the Sentiment Beautiful. And again, just for easiness, I'll pop that on with some 3D glue gel. And I always think no card is complete without having its own little ribbon on, which is why I insist on putting you some ribbon in every one of these cards. And then look how beautifully well that's finished off. Doesn't that look fabulous? And that is how you would use those flowers and take them away from the card, so you've got individually layered flowers, which is why we've put that lovely coloured cardstock in there. So you can either cut them out and lift them out, or you can lift them out completely intact.